I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, in liberal limbo, we dish about the legal and constitutional efforts of President Trump's legal team. Will there ever be an unquestionable result of election 2020? Happy fascist Thanksgiving! States like New Mexico, California, and New York have placed restrictions on a most American holiday. Are we canceling Thanksgiving? Censorship erasing history one book at a time. When books like To Kill a Mockingbird and Tom Sawyer are yanked off the shelves and lit on virtual fire, what does that say about our country? Our panel will break down the political and societal efforts of erasing American literature from the public square. And then there's the funnies, staying sane in 2020. Mr. Biden may be predicting a dark winter, but our funnies are a ray of sunshine. Hold on tight for what the Conservative Five find humorous this week. Election 2020 appears to be a never-ending ball of confusion. And while Mr. Biden is parading around with his president-elect banners and holding briefings, the Trump team is battling for truth at the ballot box. Is Rudy Giuliani and his dream team making any headway in getting to the bottom of this chaos? To answer that question, let's start with our own legal affairs man, Scott Cosenza, Esquire. Scott, battles have been won and lost in key swing states, but eyes are transfixed on Pennsylvania. What has Team Rudy accomplished, and where are we headed to next?
Okay, I think it's easier to answer the second question first. I think where we're headed next is a denial of the campaign case, probably through granting a motion to dismiss. And if I look into my crystal ball, the Third Circuit will affirm that. The campaign will appeal to the Third Circuit. They'll be denied there, and they'll appeal again to the United States Supreme Court, where I predict they won't even lose a case. They won't even get a hearing, would be my prediction, because the Supreme Court won't even grant a hearing in the sort of low-hanging fruit case that's already before the court, which is the allowing extra days for mail-in ballots to be presented, even though the law states clearly the opposite. So,
wow. Oh, okay. We got a Debbie Downer here. Anybody else watch the news conference with Rudy and Powell and friends? I thought it was fascinating, and it seemed to me like they're finally getting revved up to start launching some serious court action. I don't get the sense that it's over.
I think there's two fronts that the Trump campaign team is fighting on here. One of them is the legal front, the legal court. The other is the court of public opinion. Scott and I discussed this on the Uprising podcast. You can make all kind of fantastical claims, maybe true or not, on national TV or in a press conference, but it's a very different thing to prove it in a court of law. And I think that's what the Trump legal team has run into here with Rudy Giuliani, who hasn't practiced law in over 30 years. By most accounts, including Scott's, he's not done exactly a bang-up job. You've got Sidney Powell, who's very highly respected, but apparently, is more in the background. So, I mean, they have to win the court of public opinion.
Wait. She wasn't in the background today.
She was front and center.
Sarah?
She was front and center, and she laid out a really good case, point by point by point. Now, I'm not a lawyer, as Mr. Scott Cosenza Esquire is, but knowing how my people in the flyover states are reacting, they're following Newsmax. They're following what Sidney Powell has to say, and they're not giving up. So if that's your court of public opinion, it's not dying.
She's done very well in the court of public opinion. I watched with great interest her appearance on the Bartiromo show over the weekend. And then I watched the proceedings in court and waited for some of these fantastic allegations of CIA programs and Venezuelans and this and that to make their way into court in a substantive way, and found zero there.
Okay, but today he said he was setting it up. They were setting up the stage for this. Mark, you watched it over there in
I
the
did,
UK.
yes. Actually, I felt that it very much ties into winning both hearts and minds. So the hearts is, as Tim says, it's the getting the people behind, the people of the country behind him. And the minds is obviously what's happening in the courts. A poll that came out today, very, very interesting. It showed that America has actually united, but it's united in the belief that some kind of major fraud took place that robbed Donald Trump of the presidency. Now, whether that majority is 60%, I believe, on the poll, is correct or not, that there's no way that Trump can fight a legal battle and, however small those chances are, get the presidency again if he doesn't have the people behind him. So there's no point in doing one without the other. It's love and marriage.
I don't know if I agree with you. That's not how I perceive our court systems as working. I see this as being fought like a PR battle, not like a legal battle.
No, I think what he was saying was, I agree with Mark. I think it's a heart and mind issue. He said, you know, what we're doing today is just, we're setting up the public information, and we hope you disseminate this information. You should disseminate this information. You should look into this. You know, we got no modern day Woodward and Bernsteins hanging around the New York Times or the whatever these days. But he said, you know, these court actions, basically right now, they only have 2 court actions in process. But I think, to just dismiss it, Scott, he said he's got affidavits from hundreds of people. They have lots of evidence.
Lisa,
Can we just ignore that?
I listened to the hearing, and I heard Rudy Giuliani say to the judge that they were not pressing a fraud claim in that court. In other words, so they say fraud on TV, and what I'm telling you is when they get to court, they say it's not about fraud. It's about illegal or a legal requirement for ballots, such as to say there's a problem with a signature or something like that. So I'm just repeating to you what has been said in court, and I'm informing that the fraud and massive fraud claims that they're talking about on TV, they're saying the exact opposite in court. That's what they've said to date, both in city court or state court in Philadelphia and in federal court in Pennsylvania as well.
Well, alternatively, they're not bringing those fraud claims forward yet, because obviously they've got to go for a single issue, isn't it, when they go to the court, Scott? So that one that they're presenting.
Well, no, but just because they haven't brought that issue doesn't mean they can in the future, Mark. But I would just say, TikTok, you know.
Sure.
Again, going to the court of public opinion, they have to prop up the belief among Trump supporters that this election was stolen. And, you know,
wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you. They don't have to prop that up. That's already there. There's Mark.
But they need to communicate it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
70% of the people already believe.
Yeah, 60%. And that includes, I think, between 20 and 30% Democrats.
It's remarkable, really. I've spoken to dozens of people since this election. I suspect most of you have. And among the Trump supporters, the people who are activists on the ground, really involved, they believe it was stolen. But yesterday, I was in a group of, fairly well-heeled, successful Wall Street types as part of a meeting. There were about 9 or 10 of us on the call. So I figured that I'd hear, well, we just have to accept it and move on and let's see how the markets do. But their belief was exactly the same as so many, grassroots people, that the election was stolen. It was almost universal. So among Trump people, whether it can be proven in a court of law or not, I can tell you that the vast majority of the 73 million who voted for Trump will never accept that this was a legitimate election.
Sarah, what are your thoughts here?
I absolutely agree. No one's ever going to think it's a legitimate election. And if that survey is saying 60% of America, including Democrats, the Democrats probably, and especially the ones I happen to know, think there was some hanky-panky going on. But the outcome seems to be in their favor. So do they care about the recounts and the revotes and getting to the bottom of it? Not this year. They're going to care in 4 more years if they lose. I mean, that's the way they cared in 2016. So I don't think, it's an inconvenient truth when 60% of this country thinks our elections are screwed up. That's just horrifying.
Well,
That's banana republic stuff. When the
That is.
actual integrity of the elections is questioned by more than 50% of the American people. Think about
Tim?
what that implies.
Yes.
Tim, it's actually not banana republic. It's Venezuelan, as is the home and ownership of the Dominion software. Apparently,
Currently saw that also. That
Well,
was
it
on
was apparently.
the presser today.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Dominion Voting Systems was developed for Venezuela, for Hugo Chavez, for elections in Venezuela, originally.
correct.
yeah, but I mean, they're talking about our votes being counted over in Germany, and the presser today.
None of those claims were made in court, by the way.
Yeah.
If they can,
What they're saying is what the point that they made, and I think you were busy, and maybe, am I right in saying you didn't see the presser today, Scott?
I'm not entirely sure who was
Okay, this
up
was
today.
Giuliani and Powell and DeGeneva, and the bottom line they said was what they're trying to do is to make sure that these states don't certify, because
Certainly, that's their goal.
they have many issues. They have affidavits, they have people, they read letters. I do not, I'm sorry, but I don't think this is over in the courts. I really don't. I think this is just the beginning of what Giuliani and Powell have going on. And they won the ability to not certify Wayne County in Michigan. They said they had, let me see here, 220 affidavits from people in Michigan. That's evidence. They said they have massive claims of overvoting. They've got some guy from, is it Smartmatic and Dominion on the record? I mean, it looks
they
like
have a Dominion whistleblower guy. Yes, they do.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks
I
to
can
me
tell
like
you
a
that I'll be
holocaust of
closely
evidence.
following their court filings for LibertyNation.com, and if they do make a filing that indicates, that massive fraud, which they haven't to date, obviously that will change things.
Maybe they need to hire Michael Avenatti. I hear he's free at the moment.
What happened to his presidential campaign?
Is he in jail?
He's being sentenced in February, apparently.
Tim, Democrat Lyndon LaRouche proved that being incarcerated is no impediment to mounting a campaign for office. So.
Well, then I guess Roger Stone and Michael Flynn might consider running for office as well.
All righty. Well, our legal eagle doesn't seem to think a Trump win is in the cards, but the faithful are still hoping and praying. And guys, as the Trump base watches and waits, Biden folks are busy out there printing business cards. So time's running out for Trump, and we're likely going to have an answer relatively soon, certainly before the first of the year. But the question arises, will it be the entire electorate can agree upon? Will it be that kind of a, an outcome? And I feel like if the Republican Party doesn't make hay now, how will they ever win in the future? Let's talk Turkey. What is with the war on Thanksgiving, folks? The question I'd like to throw out to our panel today is, will Americans allow their most favorite and original holiday to be deleted? Should we hit the back button in California, New York, and New Mexico? What say you all? Should we just ignore them and go have some mashed potatoes and gravy?
I'm happy to do mashed potatoes and gravy in a closet if necessary, along with turkey on Thanksgiving. And it begs the question, and I think we've got a metaphysically important question to consider here. Why is it that most of us, perhaps present company excluded, only eat turkey on Thanksgiving? I mean, it's the other white meat. It's a good meat. Why don't we?
I insist on the right to interject here and say that I don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving, Tim. I refuse to eat it any day of the year because it's an insufficient, low-quality protein compared to the others available. Chicken, let's just stick with fowl. We don't even have to leave the fowl category. And I would just say, Lisa, to your question, it's a bad idea for any American to first discover what government officials think is a good idea for them before they plan their day.
All right, wait. I've got to hop on over to the UK where I know Mark and his beloved eat strange and unusual birds.
For this holiday season, not Thanksgiving, but for the Christmas and New Year season, we'll be starting with a particularly large goose, cooked in goose fat that we saved from last year's goose, and then a duck for New Year's. But what we're thinking this year is perhaps do a 3-bird roast. So what we'll do is we'll, inside the goose, put maybe a chicken, and inside that, maybe a partridge or a pheasant. So you can actually.
I heard you say something about pigeon. Admit it. Just fess up right now.
Pigeon's good.
I
said partridge, but pigeon's good too.
Is that partridge going to be in a pear tree to prepare for
with
Christmas?
A nice pear and plum sauce, perhaps.
Okay, Sarah, we've gotten off course. Straighten us out here.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason we flipped the bird to King George III, that kind of stuff. We have an American holiday, and people aren't allowed to close it and shut it down and tell people they can't have their family over. I mean, New Mexico is shut down. My sister has pulled the plug on my mother visiting my brother in New Mexico. Now, Mama Lucy is all hot and bothered. And I think if I was Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, I'd be worried about that.
Wow. You sure you want that on TV, or does this not make for a really dysfunctional Thanksgiving?
Whatever happened to common sense?
I mean, they're closed. You can't say you can't have your family over. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But you can go to Walmart and shop for it. I mean,
okay, but we have a real issue here, and that is they're starting to close bars and say there's a reason for that with coronavirus. Somebody bring that, Mark. Tim?
The UK is already at that point. We had the first lockdown, the full lockdown, which was bars closed, everything closed, and people only allowed out for certain periods for the day. Now, that didn't work. So the natural response is naturally to do it again for some reason. So we're doing it again. We're actually living through it right now. We've been told, the British public have been told that if we're good, we're having our names checked on the list, possibly twice. If we're good, we can have 5 days around the Christmas period where families can intermingle. So it's really getting to a boiling point politically and spiritually in the UK. It's very much getting to a boiling point.
Mark, does the coronavirus become especially virulent after 10 p.m. in the UK like it does in the United States? We have all these restrictions now that prevent these establishments from opening past 9:59 p.m. and some
or
sort
serving liquor.
Follow the science.
Well,
follow
Scott,
as you well know, viruses cannot be transmitted after dark.
Well, Scott, you're obviously you haven't been paying attention. For example, we also know that the coronavirus does not hit progressive Antifa demonstrators. You noticed they're not wearing masks except to the extent that they want to hide their face. But when they're bashing people over the head and knifing them and stuff.
That's just an alternative view of public health, Tim. Don't.
Precisely.
But Sarah, Mark's saying that it sounds like, well, let me ask you directly, Mark, are the Brits pretty obedient? Because I don't get the sense that Americans are going to be too obedient with this.
Well, here's the thing. It's a bit of a stereotype that Brits follow the rules. And they do. That is a fact. It's not just a stereotype. But there's also a breaking point that we've witnessed many times throughout history where people just don't stand for it anymore. There's some very notable times in history when that's happened. And I can see that happening very, very soon. People will just, essentially they'll follow the David Icke mantra and do not consent. It's really that simple. It's going to happen pretty soon, I think, unless the government pulls back. And they wouldn't have to pull back very far. They just have to acknowledge that they're paying attention. They're not willing to, for example, shut down the bars, which is a huge part of British culture. It's not the alcohol, it's the community that's involved with pubs. A whole community spring up around pubs. That's where you meet your friends. That's where you make friends. That's where you likely meet your future spouse and your family. and they're taking apart the very.
It's a public house, right? I mean, that's the very definition of the thing.
It's the linchpin of community. So they're not just taking away pubs; they're taking away the act of community.
And what they're doing is they're basically acting as if people don't have any common sense or sense of self-protection or protection of their friends, families, and loved ones, who are the people that you generally get together with over Thanksgiving. I mean, people have an incentive to keep themselves safe. Everybody knows that we're being hit with a third wave of this coronavirus. I mean, if we've reached the point where people who are gathering for Thanksgiving, there's not going to a orchestra performance or standing, in a huge crowd in a bar. This is a controlled environment, and yet these public officials can't even trust people to use their common sense in their own self-interest.
Sarah, I'm wondering how obedient people in the red states are these days.
Not so much. I wouldn't want to call anybody out and have county health departments or state police knocking on your door, but there's a definite thumb the nose at this. People are done. They're tired. They really, and Mark has said, these coffee shops and restaurants and bars, people go because they're lonely. They don't have anybody else. Maybe, the widower shows up once a week to have dinner with people he likes and a beer. You can't take away people's ability to communicate and to be around other people. And they've done that now for off and on for almost a year. How is this helpful? It has not helped. It's back again. We've done everything we've tried to do, well, except for in the red states, and we've basically said, nah, not us. And it's just not working. So I don't know what the solution is, but I have more common sense than a housefly. If I have a fever or cough or sneeze, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay home. And most people do. Most people don't go out when they feel like crap.
All right, quick spin around before we leave this topic. Yes or no, will we be seeing news reports of sheriffs breaking into private homes in the US of A? We're going to start with you, Mr. Donner.
Isolated incidents, yes.
Scott.
It won't be sheriffs. It'll be the NYPD breaking into some Jewish people's home in Williamsburg, probably. Yes.
Mark.
Yes, without doubt.
Sarah.
Yes, but it won't be county sheriffs because county sheriffs are on the side of freedom. You might see some random police or state police or some governor's goons, but you will not see county sheriffs. But yes, it will happen.
I hate to be an amen chorus, but I agree with you all. And I want to leave with this note. Liberty Nation's Joe Schaefer wrote an excellent piece on this kind of tyranny today. It was called The Dark Winter of COVID Restrictions. In it, he quoted the words of Soviet dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I didn't get that out right. I mean, who personally experienced tons of tyranny. Anyway, he wrote, quote, "The simple act of an ordinary brave man is to not participate in lies and not to support false actions." California announced it was taking the book To Kill a Mockingbird out of the classroom and off the library shelves. And the reason, it's racist. The iconic book by Harper Lee was often the first lesson in hope against hate and inequality, told through the eyes of an open and honest child. Millions of children learn tolerance and love from Jim, Scout, Atticus, and Boo Radley. What the heck gives, California? Sarah, I know this is driving you batty, so let's begin with you. Just simply because the N-word is used and also disavowed, the lesson is a positive one. Why are the liberals and the liberal-run states trying to basically reduce the impact of the past, which really helped shape this nation and generations in the coming age of the 60s and 70s to come to grips with past mistakes?
Well, funny you should ask. It does drive me batty. It drives me batty if any book is censored. That's history. Mein Kampf has been censored in all sorts of places, and I read it in college because I wanted to know. But when you get To Kill a Mockingbird and they call it racist, when you have the main character, Scout, and her brother Jim, and her famous father, Atticus, what a hero, they fought against it. They brought in, the ability to communicate with special needs people like Boo Radley. They spoke about equality and racial injustice, and there's nothing racist about that book. Language changes over time. They have used, different colored, they have used Negro, they have used a lot of different descriptors, but it changes over time. And to just broad brush, a book of this quality and caliber that has taught so many people to live and let live and love, it makes me so mad. I want to spit on something. Seriously, that mad.
Well, Mark, I know that books are really important to you.
Yeah, this one really threw me actually when I read it this morning on Liberty Nation. I was so surprised that this book in particular, but any book really. I'm sure you're all familiar with the phrase, at first they burn books, then they burn bodies. And for me, it seems it's almost a self-fulfilling circular prophecy that what's happening here, because you have books like To Kill a Mockingbird and the numerous others that are being subject to cancel culture now. But these books, they make you think. That's the very purpose of them. But that's also what gets them in the cancel culture crosshairs, is because they create, they put within people thoughts of ideas, and so those ideas blossom. So then people start thinking, well, I can learn things from books. I can learn more from reading more books. And it seems to me that cancel culture is about making people a little more stupid, a little less open to ideas. So by coming back to full circle, the people who are wanting to ban books, what they're really doing is they want people not to be able to think or to gain ideas from new sources. They only want them to be from prescribed sources, from specific sources that can be delineated or specifically crafted to put across the message that those who are doing the canceling want you to have as a learner, as a thinker, as a free human being.
Trying to put myself in the place of someone on the left, someone who wants to tear down the foundations of this society. If I put myself in that position, the last thing I would want would be to burn the vestiges of what they consider racism, because you need to be able to have living examples of what it was once like. And that's why when they say about the Holocaust, we'll never forget, we'll always remember. And there has to be, for example, a Holocaust museum where people can visit and see the magnitude of what was done. So this idea of removing, all evidence of a culture that they find deplorable, I think is really the opposite of what they should be doing in trying to teach people about the horrors of the society that they perceive that we have perpetuated for over 200 years.
Scott, were we or were we not having a discussion about teaching critical thinking this morning?
We were, and I hope that there's a lot of people out there with their critical thinking hats on so they don't think I'm either an anti-fascist or a racist from what I'm about to say, which is that we don't need a Holocaust museum that's paid for by taxpayer dollars. People can learn about it on their own dime, and we don't need public schools where we have to fight about what books the children have access to. This is a problem.
This is our libertarian speaking.
This is only a problem because they're government schools. We never hear, private schools people can teach or not teach the curriculum they choose. And, it's just, this is the natural kind of fight you're going to have when you try to sort of push some people's values and not others. And it's a great reason why we shouldn't have public schools in the first place.
Oh, the classic. Well, we call it Liberty Nation for a reason. We want to give everybody an opportunity to speak their mind. And
Excuse me, may I correct Scott for just a moment? The proper term for the schools you
Thank
refer
you,
to,
Tim. I know
Scott,
it.
are
Say it.
government schools.
I hate that I didn't think
Thank
to
you.
say it, and you're 1,000% right. It's government schools, and it's a great way to say it because it does put people in the mindset of thinking, these are government programs, and they're government lessons that are taught. And we were talking, Lisa, about the lack of critical thinking and how, what good is it to make an argument about somebody that there's election fraud if they're just going to turn on CNN and they're just going to say unfounded allegations and then that's it, right? Where's the critical thinking involved? Well, that would actually come, I think, if there were no government schools. And I really think everybody should be behind no government schools, except for the teachers' unions, perhaps, but certainly conservatives. That's something that they can and should probably get behind with all their force.
all right, Sarah, next time I expect you to bring a buzzer every time he says public.
No kidding. What is with negative Nancy today?
Yeah, Debbie Downer. All right.
As a quick point of interest, public schools in the UK, we have
Don't
state
confuse
schools, which are
everybody, I
government
know, Mark.
schools, but public schools are your places like Eton, where the prime ministers go, the prime ministers in training go.
Whoa. Public schools are private schools?
Right. That's
Exactly.
why we had. That's why we had a revolution of
Thank you, Tim.
Mark,
Yes.
because you had butchered the language by calling private schools public. That's enough reason to revolt by itself.
Sure, but you took all the people that went to those public schools and made them the founders of your country.
All right, sorry to sound
True
ignorant,
enough.
but why are private schools like Eton called public schools?
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I just don't know. It's one of these historical artifacts that make no sense whatsoever.
He didn't get his
But
O levels
government schools are called
in
state
school
schools.
history.
Well, they also call Band-Aids.
Well, I went to a comprehensive school, so that doesn't count
called
as
Band-Aids
education.
plasters or something like that. Don't you call Band-Aids plasters?
Yes, they do. Skin plasters. That's what they say. There's all kinds of murderous things they do with our language over there.
Anyway, any final thoughts on banning To Kill a Mockingbird and Tom Sawyer? I remember a couple years ago, Tom Sawyer was taken out of some Virginia school districts.
Well, I would say if George Orwell was alive, he'd be, or if he was dead and popping out of the grave, he'd just say four words. I told you so.
Well, book banning is always, for me, it conjures up images of Germany in the 1940s when people were putting books in a pile and lighting a match to it. I mean, it just really gives me the creep.
This is for their own good, Lisa. It's entirely different than that example you just gave.
It's a crime against nature. All of
Right.
this censorship is a crime against nature. Long live To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm going to stay angry about this for quite a while, regardless of what people do in London.
What would Gregory Peck say? He starred in the movie. What would he say?
I can't do a Gregory Peck impression. I can do a Jimmy Stewart, if only he'd starred in it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that myself. Well, guys, one wonders when all this will stop, and if it continues, that long, dark winter of Joe Biden predicted may have turned out to be prescient. The fascist funnies might be keeping us all sane. So many outrageous things being said on the left with so little time. There's also some great historic oldies but goodies. Who will get the coveted C5 prize? Details on that later. But first, let's see what fun is in store for us. Here come those crazy clips where we're not sure whether we should laugh or cry. Mark, I know you spent all day culling through hundreds of clips, and that's the reason I do this, just to get people on LN to back up a little bit and search something funny for a change. So what's your offering for our viewers this week?
Well, my first two submissions to the channel were mocked by those who deemed their humor too highbrow.
Oh, well, wait, Sarah, you have the buzzer, right?
I'm literally going to buzz you. I am going to buzz you. You need to just move on.
Right. So moving on, what I chose in the end was a beautiful piece of digital manipulation. And what it is, it's a scene from the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. where they were arguing with each other. And what's happened? Well, I think you'll see from the footage what's happened. But so these are actual digital renditions of the men themselves.
The word smart. So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if you would have had, let me just... If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
I find those very interesting and very creative. I wonder who does that kind of stuff.
Well, if nobody else will claim credit,
Wow.
no, it wasn't.
All right.
But yeah, I think they're pretty entertaining, especially the voices as well. It's up the register. I got a kick out of it.
Yeah, I think they're really funny.
Well, I think the skincare routine presents a very great result for both of them, and sign me up for it.
I think a lot of people probably thought that's what they were seeing when they heard that stuff in the debate. That these are like a couple of kids fighting on a playground.
That's, I would guess you're right, Tim Donner.
All right, I'm going next just to loosen you guys up because lots of people watch these funny video things that we put together. I mean, lots of them. And you guys are all sitting there stone-faced. So let's go with my clip. My clip comes with the theory that there's nothing funnier or more joyous than man's best friend. Three quick clips of dogs doing the damnedest things. Let's roll the video, Frank.
Get that off me!
Well, you got it in here. How you gonna get it out?
All righty, who wants to have it that one? Was that a good clip or what, guys?
That was the best clip. I'm a dog freak, and I love the special issues, and not special, but spatial issues of the stick. I love the fact that the dog got his paw in the round donut thing, and he couldn't figure out how to get it, but he wanted the round donut thing. That clip, I love that clip.
The stick, trying to get the stick through the dog door, nothing can match that. That's just priceless.
I think that you were taking too many bites of the apple there, Lisa, trying to win this C5 prize. You got a compilation.
I'm for
Come on, that's a compilation. I'll put together a 20-hour video next time for you.
All right, we're a bunch of dog lovers here. Let's face it.
We are.
Yeah, well, you. No wonder I'm married to you because we picked the same kind of clips.
Oh, okay. Do tell, Tim. Intro.
Well, I got to be honest with you guys. With this election and everything, present company excluded, I've become kind of sick of people. So I sought my usual refuge amidst the storms of life, dogs, who, unlike humans, never let us down, know when to be contrite, and are always ready to come to the rescue.
What is all over your face? Did you eat lipstick?
Yum! A little bit of Revlon in purple.
Here's my question. Who's going to rescue America from the deep end like that dog did to the other dog at the end of that clip? Who's going to rescue us? Who's going to pull us out of the deep end. And I'll just add one more thing. You know, in 2016, and I think Lisa and maybe some of you, the rest of you remember this, that Trump and Clinton supporters were oil and water. They hated each other. And there was a guy that did an experiment. He went with a pro-Trump shirt to a Clinton gathering. And he said to them, and they looked at him snarling, and he said, "I lost my dog. Can you help me?" And sure enough, the Clinton people went and, you know, they planted the dog, was a little, didn't have to go far to get it, but they found the dog. And then here's the Trump and Clinton supporters petting the dog and sharing dog stories. And then he did the same thing in reverse. He went with a Clinton shirt to the Trump rally. And again, the same thing, which proves, I think it's now only dogs who can unite the human race.
Fido for
So what you're
president.
saying is that we need to get rid of the cat people.
No.
I don't think a Stalinist purge, Mark, not a Stalinist purge, but they need to be re-educated about the virtue of dogs versus cats. I mean,
Tim, are you suggesting some kind of subsidy or tax plan that encourages canine consumption?
I'm sure Joe Biden's got that working right now.
Not consumption.
Oh, Tim, my friend, you are just alienating cat people that watch our show. Knock it off. All
Mark, that was the last
God
president.
creatures.
Yeah, well, you know, I love the person, not the cat. I mean, I can still love the person, even if they have the poor judgment to own a cat instead of a dog.
Okay, now we're going to get lots of feline hate mail. Feline hate mail. All right, Scott, go next.
Well, my selection was insufficiently humorous as well, Mark, so rest easy. I thought it was a very dour week with all the events I was immersed in, but Lisa helped me find this one, and I think there's some practical tips here, too. It's one for the season. Number one, I would say if you're going to cook a turkey, you should do so when it's come up to temperature, that is to say room temperature, and if you're going to use the oil, treat yourself to peanut oil. And it's always word to the wise. It's not my quote, but it's from a great commentator. It ain't cool to be a jive turkey close to Thanksgiving.
Oh, my God. Whoa. Watch up for your faces, please. The annual Thanksgiving fire.
Real slow.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Call the fire department. 911, call 911. I don't know, just put the whole lid over the whole thing. Kill the fire. You don't want no air, no oxygen. It won't go down. Turkey's too big.
Everybody ready? We're going to fry turkey now.
You're burning the head.
Holy moly!
Don't get it. Don't get it. Get out of there. Get away. Kelly. No.
You know, somebody explained to me they put those turkeys in the oil thing. Doesn't that seem dangerous on space?
You
Deep
think?
fried turkey.
Yes.
Well, with the gloomy stuff, though, that was gloomy. That's sad for people who just lost their turkey. Just saying.
God, that's hysterical.
They can order a pizza and enjoy a good meal now.
There you go.
Oh, jeez. Again, with the turkey hate. I mean, I'm very uncomfortable with this, Scott. I really am.
I just can't believe how many people were. This is Thanksgiving, so this is November, and so many people wearing shorts.
Well,
we have a
I guess
great
that's
American
just a
South, Mark, where
geographical
it's,
thing, right?
okay, but it's a big country and it's warm in some places during Thanksgiving. See how that works?
Oh, I understand how it works. It's still a bit of a culture shock.
All right, who goes next? Last but not least.
It's me.
Okay, Miss Sarah.
About time. Okay, well,
Give it up.
So I was a little bit crusty and prickly with people this week on social media, and I had a friend send me a private message of this next clip, and it made me laugh out loud. Because who doesn't love a fox giggling? Who doesn't love that? Let's roll it.
Okay, so we put dog dilemmas in front of that. Well, is somebody going to give Frank a
It's a
course?
canine.
Are they a member of the Canis
Same
phylum?
family. Same
Yeah,
family.
it's in the same family.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought dog dilemmas
It counts.
were on there. It should be fox dilemmas.
It wasn't a cat. That was the
Video
notable
too.
thing. It was not a cat. That's 3 animal videos, and nobody chose to bring a cat. So we may
Cats
be
don't
alienating
giggle,
some people
Tim.
in our audience, but not the people on this panel, apparently.
Cats don't
do giggle, Sarah,
Don't
just
giggle.
behind your back.
All right, and now for the winner, going around the horn, starting with Mark Angelides from the UK. Who do you vote
The fox.
for? Tim, you're Mr. Matthew. Keep the tally.
Okay.
I vote for the giggling foxes because, if I may, my local butcher. He,
Oh my God! No, no.
We don't eat.
No, don't
He
go
tells me
there.
that he fires guns to keep the foxes away and whatnot, and so he doesn't like foxes except for the 6 little fox cubs who live behind his back fence, who he feeds bacon to. So
Okay.
I vote for foxes.
Okay, I thought we were going to get into animal rights issues here.
Oh, boy.
Banned on PETA. Okay, Sarah.
I liked the very first dog one. I thought that was hilarious. That would be your.
Mine. She likes mine.
I
Tim.
got 9 dogs. I'm going to go with a dog.
All right, 1 vote for Sarah and 1 vote for me. Tim, next.
Am I allowed to vote for myself?
No.
Sure.
Oh, no, no.
What?
My clip was
Why did you even ask such a thing?
I mean, my clip was.
Sorry, can President Trump vote for himself?
Yes, I
Can
mean,
Joe Biden vote for himself?
good question. You think Biden voted for Trump?
I don't know.
Or Trump
Can
for
he?
Biden?
We need a recount. Recount.
If any of those other clips were better than mine, I would have used one of them. But given that the restrictions imposed by this panel, I think I'll go with the first one, which was the kids, Trump and Biden with the debate.
Thank you.
Mark's clip, because that
Thank
to
you very
me,
much.
it characterized what most people thought they were seeing, which is 2 kids fighting in a playground.
Oh, no, you're going for the babies?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going for mine. You could sleep in the den. Okay, go ahead, Scott.
That's
I
where
will
the
not
bourbon
choose
lives,
my
right?
own selection because I don't wish to appear vulgar and common on the recording, and I won't choose any of the animal videos because I think it's cheating to put cute animals in front of a cute. It's just it's a race to the bottom. It's going to be bunnies and ducklings all the time, and I vote against that, and so therefore, Mark, I join Tim in selecting the Trump and Biden babies in a gesture of bipartisanship and transatlantic unity. I choose.
Yeah, I'm
you very
still
much.
modern with vote against and
Okay.
negative stuff.
But if
Well,
he's been
recount,
calling
is
this
it?
a
Recount.
race to the bottom.
There you go.
Wait
Recount.
a minute. Wait a minute. I get a vote.
I know.
Oh, that's
we got
right.
Lisa.
I vote for the turkeys. I thought that was hysterical.
That was hysterical.
Okay, so now what's the total?
Two for the turkeys and 2 for the babies. Tie for first.
Oh, so we have a runoff coming up next week. All right. All right.
I'll use the twice buttered toast one, and when you hear the backstory, you'll love it.
That's an inside joke. We're looking forward to hearing explained next week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that.
All right, tune in next week to hear about the British buttered toast story.
Twice buttered toast.
And it does feature Nigella Lawson. Now, there's a tease for you.
All right, some really good clips today, guys. Thanks so much. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other segments on your favorite video platform. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Subscribe to our Conservative News Daily Briefing. Visit our new Roku channel. And now we have a Rumble page where this program can be seen along with all our other Liberty TV shows. And remember, folks, Liberty all the time and everywhere.